First of all, we need to understand that who are the farmers and what's the definition of farmers. Hi friends, as we understand, farmers agitation is going on at the moment. There are three laws which has been passed by the government. On the surface, laws looks good, but there might be difference in the theory and implementation. So which the government and farmers leaders are sorting it out, and that seems to be the right approach. First of all, we need to understand that who are the farmers. This video is especially meant for people who are staying in metros or in cities and haven't actually seen the farmers in villages. Their exposure to farmers is either through books they have read or through news channels or maybe the movies which they have seen. There's a trend going on social media regarding support for farmers or I am with farmers. It's good that people are supporting the farmers, but we need to understand that yes, farmers are very important for the economy, but so are other professions like maybe train driver or a army personnel or a small businessman or a government servant or maybe a computer operator or a mechanical engineer. Nobody can survive being mutually exclusive. It's an integrated system with lakhs and crores of people and lakhs of professions as well. For example, farmers would require fertilizers, tractor, seeds, medicines for the crops. So he has to be dependent on the industry. Just imagine if there's no consumer, then what's the point of so much produce of crops? For example, whenever there is strike of truck drivers and it goes on for a week, the prices of vegetables shoot up by 3 4 times. So we need to understand that every profession is important. You might have heard about suicide of farmers in news channels. So those are not the ones who are agitating on the highways. So please don't be misguided. You'd be surprised to know that not even single one of them who are agitating on the highways do end-to-end farming themselves. They might be doing it in bits and pieces or maybe 20 30% of it, but not end-to-end farming themselves. So who are these people who are actually doing the farming at the ground level? These are the workers. Yes, these are the workers who are actually involved in construction of the roads and bridges. These are the same workers who are working on the highways, or maybe these are the same workers who are building the bridges. Because the daily wage is less in the villages, these workers migrate to smaller cities and then to bigger cities like Delhi and Mumbai, wherein the daily wages are higher. So these people who are agitating on the highways are actually the landowners who do not actually do the farming on the ground. Maybe they might be doing 20 30% of the farming, but not the entire process themselves. They have to be heavily dependent on the workers. So we need to understand that who are the real farmers? Is it the landowners or the workers who are working on the ground and doing the actual farming? If these landowners are real farmers, so if I take an example, we are also farmers. We also have land in village wherein workers are working and doing the entire farming. As an hobby, we might have done bits and pieces of farming, but definitely not the entire process of farming. If I go back a generation, my father before joining the Indian Air Force, he was in village, but even in those days, he hasn't done entire set of farming. If I even go back, even my grandfather hasn't done entire set of farming. Yes, they have done in bits and pieces and some portions of it, but not the entire set of farming. It is actually the workers who work on the field day in and day out. We also have our cousins in the villages who are looking after farms and fields. They also do not do entire set of farming. They are small farmers who have small farms. They are the ones who do entire set of farming. But rest assured that they are not the ones who are agitating on the highways over here. So the problem is people who are actually working on the fields and sweating it out. Nobody is talking about them. Tell me one thing, whether you are a government servant or a private employee or maybe a smaller businessman, can you afford to do an agitation for months? You cannot afford that. But these guys can afford that because they are the landowners and the land is already been looked after by the workers. So even if they agitate here for an year, it's not a big problem. Yes, they are required for surveillance, but that's not such a big problem. For example, we are working here in Delhi and our farms are being looked after by these workers in village. During childhood, when we do not used to study, our father used to taunt that if you do not study, you'll be sent back to village wherein you'll have to do the farming. It's good to know that farming as a profession is popular in metro cities, at least in theory. If anything has to be done by the government, it is for the lower level farmers and not for the landowners. There was a huge hue and cry when Amitabh Bachchan took 2.4 hectare-acres of land near Lucknow. So tell me one thing, what is the difference between him and these landowners? So why was there a huge uproar then? So these landowners are actually businessmen and there's nothing wrong in being a businessman. as we have multiple categories in businessmen. For example, a ready wala, a pan wala is also a businessman, and Ambanis and Tatas and Godrej are also a businessman. Similarly, we should have different categories of farmers as well. The top category of farmers who are moving around in Fortuners and have 6 7 tractors, tell me one thing, why do we have agricultural subsidies for them? They have subsidies in power, fertilizer, water, seeds, etc. They don't even pay income tax. A government servant or a private sector employee, if he's getting 30 to 35,000 of rupees, he's paying income tax. But these billionaire farmers are not even paying income tax. There's nothing wrong in being a businessman, and actually if you see, they're also not at fault. If government is providing free subsidies, obviously they'll take it. As an example, ration card is there for poor people who are below poverty line, not for the rich people. Again, you'll be surprised and shocked to know that most of the subsidy which the government provides are being taken by these big landowners. So for these rich landowners or businessmen, there should not be any agricultural subsidy. There should also not be any MSP or minimum support price, and they must also pay income tax. Yes, there will be huge agitation and opposition by the rich farmers and also by the opposition parties. Maybe highways again will be blocked, or maybe Delhi will also be blocked. But somewhere down the line, government has to take a stand for truth. Thank you so much, friends. Jai Hind.